if my mother will be like will be no, I don't know if the health people will attend my mom here in my hometown if I'm not here because she depends on me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's quite a dilemma. Well, I hope you figure it out, right? I'm sure everything will work out how it's supposed to in the end, though.
I hope so. Yes, it's like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Wow.
La telenovela típica, ¿no?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Hello, BJ. Hello,
Yeah.
Lucas. Hello, Tasnem. Sorry.
Hey guys. Hey everyone else. Um, Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. If you guys remember that term, the middle of the week, we call it Hump Day. That's very informal. But welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Today, we're going to have an exciting guest teacher for class. If anyone remembers from a couple of months ago, we had a couple of times an Egyptian teacher. Her name is Lobna, and she's a fantastic teacher, a great educator, and she's worked so hard to really master so many aspects of the English language. And she's working a bit on pronunciation now. And so she's very familiar with British pronunciation and describing British pronunciation. So we're going to do today a bit of a comparison between American and British pronunciation. So she'll be there to sort of explain and imitate the British sounds a bit more or a bit better than I can, because I'm not British, but she's focused on that accent a bit more. So great. Let me just go ahead and see. It's only 3:30 now. So let me just make sure she has the link to join us here. And she should be with us any minute. But has anyone else focused on British pronunciation here in this group? You can unmute yourself still. I have the settings so you can unmute yourself. Okay, Lucas knows a little bit about it. Andrea, yeah, hang on. Hump day. So hump like the hump of a camel, because you're halfway through the week, so you get over that hump. Great.
La joroba, like la joroba.
I don't know.
Joroba
I've never heard anyone say it in Spanish, so.
I don't know, the Notre Dame. I don't know if that's the meaning of hump. Notre Dame. I don't know. Have you ever read or
He's so
watched
Notre Dame. He's called the
yes,
Hunchback.
that hunch? It's different hump than hunch, or is the same?
Yeah, the hump is like the physical thing. So the hump on your back would be like that mass that
Uh-huh.
comes up. And hunch, we normally use it as a verb. So like if you hunch over, is like
Uh,
if you like the motion that the hunchback uses, because he has a hump on his back. So that's why he hunches. So
but the Notre Dame hunchback man has a hump in his back.
yeah, has a hump on his
Okay.
back. Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a good question. Okay, I see Lavna is joining us now. So I'm going to go ahead and change our settings so we don't all talk at once. Here she is, Lavna, excited to give a class with her. So like I was saying, Lavna was here with us a couple of months ago to talk about some different topics regarding grammar and answer some other questions you guys had. So she's here again to help us out with this class. And she's just the loveliest person and the sweetest teacher. And she's very good at explaining things and breaking them down. So I'm really excited to have her here with us. So give her a warm welcome in the chat, everyone. Lavna, I'm going to make you a co-host. And so you can go ahead and unmute yourself and introduce yourself to anyone who didn't meet you the last time you were here with us.
Hello, Kayla. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, and I'm super excited about this class.
Oh, great. Me too. I think everyone else is very excited too, because they don't get to hear about the British side of pronunciation, at least from me, because I always talk about the American side. So yeah, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself so that everyone else knows your background?
Hello, everyone. I'm Lobna. I'm from Egypt, and I'm working as an English instructor, currently working online. I have participated in some English meetings with Kayla, and today I'm going to give you like an interesting session about the differences between the British accent and American accent. So, are you excited about that?
Yeah, I see that Hagar is very excited about some British pronunciation. Teresa remembers you from last time. It's nice to see you here again. BJ says, lovely to meet you. So yeah, everyone is very excited to hear everything that you have to say. So what we'll
Okay.
do is we'll sort of show the difference between the two. So Lavna will go a bit through the British side of things, that explanation with some examples, and then I'll give a comparison afterwards, and we'll open up for some questions and have a little bit of time to have a couple of people try to do those differences between British and American accent and see how we do.
Okay, shall we start? Let's get started.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen now.
Perfect.
Today, our session will be about the secrets of the British accent compared with the American accent. Okay, before we start, I want you to know something that is very important about what is meant by accent. Does anybody of you know what is meant by accent?
Yeah,
Can
guys,
you
feel
type in
free.
the chat box?
Yeah, put it in the chat. I know this is a topic we talk about a lot, so I think you guys have a great idea of how to describe accent. Hagar says a way of pronunciation.
Excellent. This is the way of pronunciation. But here in the language, we have two important things that we have to differentiate between. We have accent and dialect. So we have American and British accents and American and British dialect. So you have to know that the dialect is something that is concerned with grammar and vocabulary. For example, in American dialect, we can say, I don't have a computer, as you can see here. I don't have a computer. But in British accent, we don't say I don't have. Instead, we say I haven't got. So this is as for the grammar part. This is American dialect and British dialect. As for the vocabulary part, in American dialect, we can say something like the word chips. What about you, Kayla? What do you say about chips? Is it right? Chips? Do you say the word chips?
Yeah, so chips would be like a bag of potato chips for me.
Yes, but in British dialect, they don't say chips. They say instead crisps. Okay, so these are totally different words from American dialect and British dialect. As for the British dialect, they say biscuits. Okay, what do you call biscuits, Kayla, in America?
Those for me would be cookies. And for Americans, biscuits are actually like they're not sweet, they're like thicker. How would I even
Savory.
Yeah, like savory and they're thicker and normally something that we would eat with like gravy or some sort of sauce. They're pretty thick, yeah.
Yes. Okay, and what do you call sweets in your dialect?
Candy.
Candy. Yeah.
Mhm.
And what about the letter Z?
The letter wait, British people call it Z.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, Lavna's teaching me something here. I've never heard that in my life. Whoa. I've also never heard a British person like spell out the alphabet. Wow. The teacher's getting taught.
What do you call it in your American dialect?
So I say Z.
Yeah, it is Z, but in British dialect, they call it Z.
Hmm.
Good to know.
I'm taking notes too, guys. So
Okay, guys, this is as for the differences between dialects, but what about the accent? This is a totally different aspect. Here, as for the language, the accent is only concerned with pronunciation. How do you pronounce some words or some sounds? Okay, this is our topic for today. But as an introduction, you have to know, why do we have many varieties of accents around the world? For example, in my Arabic language, we have so many Arabic accents. For example, I'm from Egypt and I have my Arabic Egyptian accent. However, in the Arabic language, which is the umbrella word, the language can be, you know, you can have different accents for the same language. For example, you can have in the Arab Gulf, you have another accent which is totally different from our Egyptian accent. And also in some countries like Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, they have another accent which is called Levantine, I think, Levantine accent. And in the western part of Africa, in northern western part of Africa, we have Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. They have another kind of accent. And also for the Spanish language, Kayla, can tell you about that? You are currently learning Spanish. What challenges did you find, Kayla, while learning Spanish?
Yeah, so for me to learn Spanish, I definitely found a lot of differences, not only between dialects, but also between accents. So Labna gave us a great comparison between the differences between dialect and accents. That's really important. But yeah, the way that, Mexicans speak versus the way that people in Spain speak versus the way that South Americans speak is really varied. And even within South America, each country and each region of each country has its own influences from other indigenous cultures, maybe other native languages that may influence the way that they speak Spanish. Whether you live in a mountainous or a coastal region can drastically change the way that you make certain sounds, whether you aspirate your S's or whether you drop your S's. It's a whole world. So it's really fascinating, all of these language varieties.
So which accent are you currently learning and using?
So I originally learned a neutral Latino, like South American accent, something that would be more considered to like Peruvian Spanish, maybe something more
Yeah.
neutral. And I decided to change my accent through doing accent work to Spain Spanish accent. So now I speak with a Spanish accent.
This is nice. This is really interesting. And this is also applied to the English language. Of course, you know that we have two main varieties of English. We have the American and the British accents. And you have to know that British accent is used in some parts of the world. Like, for example, the British Isles, as you know, we have England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. All of them speak with the British accent. And if you go to the Far East, you will find some parts of India, Pakistan, and also Singapore. They can use the English accent, but in the British or English language in the British accent. And also the Australian continent, which was occupied by Britain, Great Britain, also uses the British accent in Australia and New Zealand, as you know, and also in some parts of Africa, especially in South Africa, which speaks so many languages, and we are now considering the part that speaks English, okay? And the rest of the world, especially in the West, you can find in the American continent or the North American continent, you can find two countries that have the American accent, which are the USA, from which Kayla is, and Anglophone Canada. Of course, you know that Canada can speak two different languages, which are English and French. So here we are considering the part that speaks English. Okay, so we have British and American, and now we are going to learn what or how different they are from each other. So, are you ready for the sounds that can make you sound more British? Okay, let's get started. First of all, we have some consonant sounds like the t and the da. Do you know how can we sound British while we're using the t, and how can we sound American? how to pronounce words like water, water, better, and 30 in American accent and British accent. I have just pronounced them in British accent. I don't say water, I said water. Can you notice the difference between the two?
Go ahead and let us know in the chat, guys. Also, if you have any questions or there's something that you are really curious about, feel free to ask Lobna.
I cannot see the messages in the chat box.
Yeah, you have to go up top and click on the chat box to open it. But yeah, people are saying yes, they can hear the differences.
Yeah. Okay, so we have water for the t sound. We have water. We have to say it fully. It's not a flap T, it's a full T, like t, water, water. We have also better, better, not better, better in American accent. And we have the word 30, 30, okay? This is for the t sound in different positions in the word. Let's consider that the T or the T sound after the N, like the words interview. How do you pronounce this word, Kayla, in your American accent?
I would say interview.
Yeah, so it turns to be like we don't pronounce the T in American accent when it comes after the N. So Kayla says interview, but in British accent, they say interview. Okay, what about the word advantage?
Advantage.
Okay, so it is totally different here. You don't only pronounce the T, you made something in the A after the V.
Yeah, so in the A after the V with advan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess there are two differences there, with two different sounds there. Yeah, so advantage, so I take away the T. I don't say it at all. It just becomes silent because it comes after an N. And then that and, it's a very, like the as in apple or in cat,
Yeah.
advantage.
Yeah, but in British accent, they say advantage, advantage. It's ah sound here. It's not ah like in the American accent. What about the word romantic in American, Kayla?
Romantic.
Okay, how do you say it very quickly?
Romantic.
Yeah,
True.
romantic.
Yeah.
So here you don't omit the T in the British accent. Okay, and also for the very common word 20. In American accent, it is totally different. How do you pronounce it?
20.
20. Yeah. Okay, and then let's move to the T at the end of the word. In the British accent, they say yet, cut, fully pronounced. What about you, Kayla? Do you pronounce it fully?
So if I'm speaking quickly, I would normally say yet and cut.
It's like a glottal stop here, right?
We stop the T sound, so we don't fully make that sound all the way. It stays in our throat. Yet, cut.
Yes. Yeah, so you have three ways for pronouncing the ta sound. You can say it like the da sound in when it comes in the middle of the word between vowels. You can sound you can make it sound like the D sound, like better in American accent. They say better, but in British they say better, better. And after the N, they don't say it in American accent, but they say it fully in the British accent, like interview, advantage, romantic, and 20. And at the end, it depends. Um, Normally, in the British accent, they produce it fully, like yet, cut, and but. But when they pronounce it very quickly and informally, they don't say it fully. Sometimes they say it like the Americans. They say, but I want to go, but not but. Or they make it like the flap T, but I want to go, but I want to go. So it depends in the British accent. Okay, is it clear?
Yeah, let us know, guys, what you think about that. And I like that Lobna said that, you know, it might depend. It could be one thing or the other, because
Yeah.
just like in American accents where you can have a Southern American accent from North Carolina or from Texas, or you can be from
Yeah.
California or New York. The same thing within Britain. Like in Britain, they have so many different accents within just England that it's crazy. So they're all very fascinating. And I've heard some British accents that were hard for me to understand because they were just so different from anything I've ever heard. So yeah, it's important to understand that we're sort of talking about general rules here, but you always may meet someone who has a different tendency just because of where they grew up and their background.
Yes, you're right, Kayla. I forgot to say that the accent can differ from one place to another inside the same country, not only from one country to another. So in Great Britain, in England, you can find the northern people have a certain accent that is totally different from the southern people, like in the southwest of England. So it is a bit difficult for us as learners of English to grasp all of these differences between the different accents. This is your fault, Kayla. This is not our fault.
Yeah, no, but the same thing happens. Like I know for me, when I was learning Spanish, there were so many different accents that some of them I would be like, wow, that's really hard for me to understand. I just don't get it. And still to this day, if I meet certain people from certain places, I understand them, but I have to pay attention in a way that I don't have to pay attention anymore because I already feel fluent and comfortable and confident. So the same thing happens in English, and people say the same thing about learning Arabic. I know people that have learned Arabic very generally, and then they're like, oh, I spoke to someone from this place and I have no idea what's going on. So this happens really in all languages. And the more widespread your language is across the globe, the more sort of room there is for this to happen and create more linguistic differences. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is actually influenced by many factors, like, for example, political and geographical factors. So
Mm-hmm.
it depends. Okay. Actually, I want you to know something, that it is not very important to use a specific accent while you're speaking. So you are not required to use the American accent or the British accent. You can mix between them, or you can learn the language that you prefer. However, you have to know the differences between them just to improve your listening. This is the point. Okay, so you're learning that just to improve your listening, not only to improve your speaking. Let's move to the second consonant, which is really important and really distinctive in the British accent, which is the R letter, which is not pronounced in the British accent in many positions of the word. For example, I'm saying the word word. Can you hear it? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying word, I'm saying word. Okay, so here we don't pronounce the before the consonant sounds, and also before at the end of the word, when it comes at the end, like the word sister, picture, and doctor. We don't say picture, sister, doctor as Americans do. Okay, so how do you what do you expect these words to be pronounced? How do you expect them to be pronounced?
So
Okay.
I would say sister, picture, and doctor.
Yes, here the R occurs at the end of the word. So in the American accent, they normally pronounce it, but in the British accent, they don't. What about the R before the consonants, like carpenter, artist, corn?
I
How do
would
you pronounce them?
I would say carpenter, artist, and corn.
Yes. So do you notice the difference here for the R? This is the second difference. Now I'm presenting some differences with examples, and at the end of the live, if there is enough time, I'm going to ask some people to volunteer and pronounce some words in both American and British accents. So get ready and focus. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the third difference here is the y sound, which Americans don't normally pronounce in many words. Okay, for example, Kayla, how do you pronounce these three words?
Duke, Tuesday, new.
Yes. So Kayla did not pronounce the y sound here, which has to be pronounced in the British accent. So this word has to be duke. It's not duke as the American accent, duke. Okay, again, Kayla, please.
Duke.
Duke. And the second word, how did you pronounce it?
Tuesday.
Yeah, but in the British accent, we have to say Tuesday, Tuesday. Oh, and sometimes the t turns to be ch when it is followed by y. So we have to say Tuesday, Tuesday, okay? Choose and choose are both correct. Okay, what about the third one?
New.
New, but in British, it is new, new. Okay, this is the third difference here.
Yeah, it almost sounds like, because I really hadn't thought about this difference, but now that you're saying it, I'm like, oh yeah, British people do say that. So in new, for example, that extra it sounds a bit more like nasally, almost like the nye in Spanish. So the new, new. So for the
Yeah,
Spanish
yeah.
speakers on the call, it's sort of more like an nye, nye.
Yeah, yes. Okay, now we have covered most of the consonants which make the differences between the American and the British accents. Now let's move on to the vowel sounds. We have the vowel sounds are a bit more difficult than the consonants, which are a bit clear. But here the vowels are a bit difficult, so please focus. How do you pronounce these words, Kayla, in your American accent?
Over, coat, so, boat, show.
Do you notice the rounded vowel sound O of Kayla?
Mm-hmm.
How did she
Oh.
pronounce it? How did she pronounce it? Oh, oh, this is the most difficult one, by the way. Oh, in the American accent, they say over, but in the British accent, we don't say it like that. The British people say oh. It's not oh, it is fully rounded, but in the British accent, it at the beginning it starts with a like this. You don't round your lips. Then it ends with a rounding like oh, 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 over, over, coat, coat, so, so, like this, boat, boat, and show. Again, Kayla, can you please cooperate with me?
Mm-hmm. Of course. Over, coat, so, boat, show.
Okay, so over, 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 coat, coat. Okay, so, so. I'm not sure about my American pronunciation. Am I pronouncing them correctly?
I heard it less with so, but it was very obvious for me with over and coat.
Okay, again. So,
So,
so, right?
so.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and boat, boat for the British accent, boat,
Mm-hmm.
boat, right?
Yep.
And show for the British accent, show, show for the American accent. This is the most difficult vowel, so if you don't know it very well, you have to practice it because it's a bit difficult. As for us as Arabs, we don't differentiate this sound from the O sound, which comes in some words like uh, coat, coat. The past tense of catch. It's in the British accent. Coat, coat. It's a long O sound. So here there is a difference between coat and coat. Coat, coat. Do you notice the difference between them?
Mm-hmm. And I think I'll sort of put in the chat as well for you guys the two words that Lobna means, so you can see them. And I would pronounce those like coat and cot. Coat and
Yes,
cot. Mm-hmm.
coat and coat. In the British accent, coat, coat. O, O. Okay? The same difference between boat and boat. Okay? And also between saw and so. Saw, the past tense of see, and so, the conjunction. This is really important.
I think this will be really great for a lot of people that maybe feel confused when they hear British speakers speak versus English speakers. American speakers. Perhaps it's, sometimes difficult to understand the differences between those vowels. So whichever sound you make, as long as people understand you and it's clear, that's fine. But it is important to understand the difference for when you hear other people speak to know what they're saying. But honestly, even in American, if I heard that word in isolation, like the way that Lobna just said caught, the past tense of catch, if I heard that word in isolation, it sounds very similar like coat to me for my American accent.
Yes.
So I'd be like, what? So it's okay if you're like sometimes confused or you think it's another word, because that happens to native speakers in a lot of languages with a lot of dialects. So that's just a normal thing to happen.
Yeah, I was just about to discuss this main difference between the American and the British accent concerning this sound. Coat in British accent is totally different in the American accent, which is made a bit open. Okay, so they say O like ah. Okay, for example, the short O sound in job, on, clock, and coffee, and the long one in awesome, awesome, abroad, coat, and broad is almost the same in the American accent, ah sound in many words. For example, how do you pronounce the word job in your American accent, Kayla?
Job.
Job. Yeah, so
Job.
is not O, it's ah. Job, British. Job, American. On, British. How do you say it?
On.
On. Clock.
Clock.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Abroad.
Abroad.
Caught.
Caught.
Brought.
Brought.
Do you notice the difference, everyone?
Teresa says, what a great lesson. I know Teresa's learned British English her whole life, and then she wanted to learn American English to understand series and movies and that sort of thing. So she's loving this comparison.
Yeah, I'm so interested in the differences between the two accents.
Yeah, and Lobna's so good at it. Like someone asked before here, who was it? Mr. Rabbi asked if for Americans it's easy to speak in a British accent or if it's hard. Yeah, like we can imitate accents. Some people are good at imitating them and some people aren't. I'm not the best at imitating accents. Like I can imitate an accent, but when my English friends hear me imitate an English accent, they're like, please stop. But so Lobna's much better at it than I am. But most normal Americans can imitate a British accent pretty well.
Okay, let's move now to the A and O in the weak syllable that comes at the end of the words. For example, like laboratory, laboratory. How do you say it in your American accent, Kayla?
These ones sound so funny for me in English accents. Laboratory.
Laboratory, yeah, you make it a bit longer, but in British accent, it is made very, very short. Laboratory, laboratory. So the O in the British accent at the end before the R and Y is not pronounced. It is very, very weak. So you don't say ori, you say uri, laboratory. And Kayla said laboratory. This is very, very clear. What about the word contemporary?
Contemporary.
Contemporary. So this also happens to the A before the R and Y. Okay, can you notice the difference between the two?
Yeah, Mohammed says very interesting. Lucas says he sometimes imitates a Spanish accent from Spain when he speaks Spanish. That's funny. Lucas, one day you'll have to get me to imitate your Mexican accent and you'll hear my Spanish accent. We'll do a fun call one day for Spanish speakers. You guys can hear me actually speak Spanish because you never hear that.
Okay, now I'm going to present another very important sound, which is very clear between the American and the British accent. The sound ah, ah, like man, hat, and cat. Okay, this sound in the British accent is very short. You don't make it very long like the American accent. How do you pronounce man, Kayla, in your American accent?
Man.
Yeah.
She laughs at me. She's like, ooh, look how she says it.
Okay, please pronounce the rest of them.
Man, hat, apple, astronaut.
Yeah. Man, hat, apple, astronaut, astronaut. Okay, so it's very short. You cannot make it long like man in American accent. It's man, man. Okay. And finally, the difference between this sound, this same sound, ah, and ah. Sometimes the British ah is met by ah in the American accent in some words, not all of them. For example, how do you pronounce these words, Kayla?
I would say fast, pass, bath, castle, dance.
Okay, let's pronounce them word by word.
Okay, fast,
Fast,
pass,
pass,
bath,
bath,
castle,
castle,
dance.
dance. Did you notice the difference? Here in the American accent, they say ah, but in the British accent, they make it stronger and darker. They say it ah, ah. Okay?
And
Everyone?
Mr. Rabbi has a question.
Yes,
He
please.
wants to know the word regularly. In American English, I would say regularly. So how would you say that word in a British accent, Labna?
You say it the same, regularly, regularly. Or you can make it just one L, regularly. Sometimes I hear some British people say it regularly, like this.
Yeah, when they're being like a bit quicker and more informal. I've heard that sometimes too.
Yeah, this is everything for my part. Kayla, would you like to add anything before we move to the exercises part?
No, just in case anyone has any other questions about the words they see here or wants to see more examples from anything, this is a really great list of words with all of it sort of put together. I think people are really enjoying the comparison. So whatever questions you guys have about what you see here on Lobna's slides, just let us know here in the chat.
Any questions before we move to the practice part? This is your turn now. I want you to volunteer,
Okay.
raise your hands, and if you want to pronounce these words in American and British accent, please.
Zainab has a question she'd like to ask. So I'm going to unmute you, Zainab, and you can explain your question in more detail for us.
Hello, Kayla.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine, thank you so much. How do you do?
Great, great. Thanks for asking. What's your question for us?
The question is for you or for Lubna. It is the same. Hello, Lubna.
Hello?
My name is Zainab. I am from Algeria, and I want to question you about how to. For example, I have got a new word. How to know the correct pronunciation of this word? Me
This,
personally,
yes,
sorry, me
this is a very
personally,
good question. Mhm.
me personally, because I'm not a specialist of language, I don't know how to read from the dictionary. That reading, it is between. They put it in the dictionary to show people how to spell or how to pronounce. So I go to Google Traduction, I write the word and I make sound to hear the word. Tell me please if we can use is it good or is it correct to put the word in Google Traduction and to hear the sound. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Zainab, for your question. This is really an amazing question and very important. Actually, we as learners cannot depend on our expectation for the word. Of course, uh, um, uh, um, uh, later on, you will like build a sound memory in your mind that will help you much while you're reading or pronouncing many words. So this will be very useful later on to know that the pronunciation of the anonymous words that you haven't heard before. However, English is not a phonetic language. You have to bear this in mind. What does it mean? It is not a phonetic language. It means that you cannot expect this word, if it is a new word to you, you cannot expect that this is 100% correctly pronounced. So what can you do? Because you cannot pronounce each and every letter in the word. So what can you do? Here you can do two things which are really important for you and useful. First of all, you can learn English sounds. For example, English phonetics. I mean English phonetics, like you have some books like English pronunciation in use that can be very important, and other books for the American accent, like Master the American Accent. In these books, you can learn English phonetic rules that can help you to know how to sound or how to pronounce new words. Actually, we as learners cannot depend on our expectation, as I told you before. So you have to check your dictionary. And if you don't know how to read the phonetic symbols, you have to depend on a dictionary like this one. I will share it to you, that can pronounce the words for you in both American and British accents, like this one, for example. Can you see it? Here you have the audio. February. Did you hear it? You have to check the pronunciation. So it is not your fault, actually. We as learners will have such problems while learning new vocabularies. So you have to check your dictionary. This is the safest way. Okay,
Yeah.
so here you have two ways of pronunciation. The first one for the British accent and the second one for the American accent. So listen. February. February. Did you hear the difference? February and February. Okay?
Yeah, great.
Can I answer
And
your question?
I think, yeah, Zainab says yes, thanks. That it was very helpful. And one thing, just to make you all understand that this is some like pronunciation in English isn't easy for native English speakers either.
Yes.
Because it's not phonetic, sometimes we just, like what Lobna said, with a sound memory, like just having a storage bank where you're relating words that sound like each other to other words in those categories. It's something that as children, when you're like even native speakers, we're always learning in school what words rhyme with what words and which words go in which category. It's like drilled into us just to memorize, because otherwise you don't know how to read things. And to this day, if I see a new word that's like really different from anything I've ever seen, and it's in English, then I can look at it and assume, okay, it probably sounds like this because it looks like something that's related to my sound memory I have in my head.
Yes.
But I might say it wrong, and I might ask someone else, like, how do you say that word? And they'd be like, oh, let's take the word, for example. I'll write it in the chat so you guys can see it.
Could you please write it on the whiteboard?
Oh, can I write on your whiteboard?
I will stop share if you would like to write it on your whiteboard.
Okay, let's see. And I actually never use the whiteboard. I always just like share my screen and have but I'll show you guys, for example, here, the word, let's see. I'm on the wrong. This one, okay. So here, if I have the word, for example, neologism, this was a word that I remember I learned like how to write, and we learned definitions and whatever when I was a kid in middle school. And until I was an adult, I had only ever seen it written down. I had never heard anyone read the word. So at some point I had to like read the word out loud, and I was like, I don't know how to read this word. Like, and I asked people, I'm like, what is this? And I looked it up and I was like, okay, neologism. But I wanted to say how did I want to say it originally? Neologism or something like that, I wanted to say. So like, it's a totally normal thing. It happens to native speakers too. And it's just sort of a reality that we have to accept when it comes to English. Yeah. Mohammed says he has a question too. So I'll go ahead and let you ask. Let me unmute you, Mohammed. Okay, unmuting you now.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am.
Hey, how are you doing?
Thank you so much. Yes, hello. So first of all, I will let you know about myself. I am Shiroz and I'm from Pakistan right now. I'm in English linguistics. My basically area is linguistics, English linguistics.
Awesome.
So yes, and nowadays I'm doing, research in cross-cultural communication and phonetics also. Sometimes I'm research in code switching and code mixing. A linguistics analysis of these things you are using. Phonetics transcription. So I have read in all things in IPA chart, International Phonetic Alphabet Chart. So these are an amazing. Sometimes I practice these. Symbols, but believe me, I don't remember these because they are too tricky. Our vocal cords, these are the things. Our larynx both are also involved in these things. Phonetic transcription. So I don't. So it's a time-taking process. When we talk about phonetics and phonology, so because it's a scientific study of natural sounds. So sometimes we can imitate sounds, or sometimes we cannot. It depends on our vocal cords or our accent as like this. So I want to know about the which thing is good for practice these things. Sounds, which app or which book or something like that. I want to know about this thing.
Lobna, you mentioned a couple of
How
books
I can
before.
practice.
Do you want to name those books off before that you have used to learn pronunciation and to work on stuff from home?
Yes, sure. I will type them on the whiteboard so that they are clear to everyone. You can learn English phonetics and phonology from some books like English. Let me write it. English pronunciation in use. This is really interesting, and also better English pronunciation. These two are very helpful. As for me, they are very helpful and very simple in their explanation language. This is for the British accent, and also for the American accent, you can download Mastering. I'm not sure about the name Mastering or Master the American accent. Just a minute. This is for those who are interested in the American accent. Both of them are really helpful and really amazing. You can learn different things from them. And for the dictionaries, you have Oxford, of course, Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, and Longman. This one that I have just shared with you, this is Longman Dictionary.
Longman. Yes, I'm using sometime Longman. It's very, it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah, it's excellent actually. Contemporary English. Okay. Oh, Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English. I'm using the 5th edition.
So I want to ask one thing more.
Yeah, sure.
If we, if we talk a native speaker or we talk a non-native speaker, what are the things that we will improve before talking? Like, in cross-culture communication, we are here, we are from different cultures. So where we are doing, we are doing a different kind of conversation, communicate different things. So I want to know about how we can, start, or how we can speak in front of other, because our gesture and posture are different, because we are belonging to a different cultures, low context cultures and high context culture. So in every culture there, semiotic signs and symbol is totally different. So how we can learn the signs and symbols, like semiotics?
Mhm.
Do you mean the phonetic symbols?
Phonetic symbols, as far as the signs like gestures and postures, I'm talking about non-verbal communication.
Okay,
Yeah.
did you notice these phonetic symbols when I shared my dictionary? These
Yes,
phonetic symbols.
sometimes. Yes.
Can you
So
see?
I think Mohammed, or you're referring more to like physical gestures, like body and hand and facial
Yes,
gestures.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So that's because Mohammed's talking about cross-cultural communication with not only the words we use, but the way we move our bodies and that sort of thing. And that can change
Yes.
drastically among all cultures. So the only thing that I would recommend there is like, if you know you're going to be speaking a lot with people from a certain culture, to sort of look up what the norms are or the most common gestures and what they mean for that culture specifically. But I mean, I think when people are communicating cross-culturally, it's also important for them to understand that everyone comes from a different background, and I can't assume that everything that you do, you know what it means to me. So, for example, sometimes, I'll take a sip of water or I'll drink something in class. And so I've had before students tell me, hey, don't drink because you're disrespecting me. But
Okay.
obviously in my culture, in American culture, it's
Okay.
very normal for us to drink water. In fact, if you don't drink water, it's like you're not a good speaker. You're not keeping your mouth moist and humid for being a good speaker. So it's there's a lot of differences there. I
And
think
I'm like this. Sorry for this. Interruption. So like this sign shows okay, but when we talk about in low context culture, this sign shows okay, like Pakistan, India, and something like that, and USA. And when we talk about in high context cultures like Iran and Iraq and some Middle East countries, so this might be a meaning of offended. It doesn't mean the okay. It
Mhm.
gives no proper sense, or it gives no meaning of okay.
Yeah.
It gives the meaning, offending, something like that, something not irritating, or I'm talking about these things because we are here. Well, there are different signs and symbols that are used in our communication too. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm telling this thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thanks for bringing that up, because it is an important part of cross-cultural communication, but it does have to do more with semiotics, like you said, rather than phonetics and phonology. We did once do a class here in English Without Borders. You can find the recording in our units section about differences in body language. So it'd be interesting to do another one again, actually, and have some people prepare some differences about their countries, and we could all learn a little bit again. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Mohammed, and for
Thank
asking
you
your
so much, and
questions.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And now we have come to the end of our class. Now we have some words, and I want to volunteer to pronounce once in American and the other one will be for the British part. Who is ready to volunteer?
Go ahead and let us know in the chat if you want to give it a go. Because if you raise your hand, I can't see everyone at the same time. So
I can
okay,
see three.
Lucas.
Mr. Rabia, Miss Ikhlas, and Jerry.
Yep,
Okay.
I see. I'll go by the chat here because otherwise I don't really know who volunteered first. Lucas, I see put his name in the chat first, so I'll unmute you, Lucas.
Hello.
Hey, hey.
Hello, Kayla. Hello, Lobna.
Hello, Lucas. How are you doing?
Same old.
Same old.
Okay. Which part are you going to volunteer for? The British or the American accent?
Well, American accent.
Okay, who wants to volunteer to read these words in British accent? If you're ready, please type your name or raise your hand.
Okay, Mr. Rabbi said for the British accent. Oh, and Teresa. Okay, Teresa, I know you love the British accent. We'll do you the next one for British accent, okay? So Mr. Rabbi, let me find you. And we'll unmute you as well. Just trying to find my list of participants.
He's raising his hand, Kayla. He's raising his hand.
Yeah, I'm here in the list of participants and I
Hi
couldn't
there.
find him. There he is.
Is my voice clear?
Yes.
I'd like to thank you both for this wonderful session.
Thank you very much.
All right. So we'll have Lucas, we'll go with the American accent, and then Mr. Rabbi with the British.
Well,
Only
I
the
will
first
start
word.
with tuna.
Okay.
Who is saying? Mr. Rabia?
No, I didn't start yet.
Okay,
Yeah, that was Lucas.
Okay, tuna.
tuna.
YouTube.
American.
Do you want me to read all the words?
Yes, please. All the row, and then Mr. Rabia will take his part with a British accent.
Okay.
Okay.
The first one is tuna, YouTube, news, duty.
Kayla,
Okay.
Kayla, what do you think?
Very, very good, Lucas. I think you did a great job there.
Okay, so it's my turn. Tuna, YouTube, news, duty.
Excellent, Mr. Rabia. This is pure British accent.
Thank you.
Okay. The next row is dictionary, library, January, February, category.
I
Okay.
think that this sounds more British than American. What do you think, Kayla?
Yeah. So Lucas, you could give a bit more stress to the airy at the end. So dictionary, library,
Dictionary.
January,
Say February, say it.
February.
Okay. There I go. Dictionary, library, January, February, category. How do you pronounce category?
Category.
Category.
I think this row, you can say, is similar between British and American.
No,
Is
they
that
are
right?
different. Okay,
Okay,
Kayla,
so-
please pronounce them in American accent first.
Dictionary, library, January, February, category.
Okay, and in British, we have to
Okay.
say dictionary, library, January, February, and category, like this.
Okay.
And the next row is modern, sorry, shopping, October,
The
What do
last one more time, Lucas?
October,
October. Good. Okay, good with your R's there.
October.
Good.
Your turn, Mr.
Okay.
Rob.
Yes. Okay. So modern, sorry, shopping, October.
Excellent. So here we say
Okay.
modern.
Modern. Okay.
Very good. The third one, please, would I ask you to mute yourself and let others participate?
Great.
Me.
Thank you guys for participating.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. We appreciate it. Let's see. I know Jerry wanted to try with the American and Teresa with the British. So I'll go ahead and unmute you, Jerry.
Miss Ikhlas, is
And-
your hand?
Okay. Yeah, Miss Eckles will get to you too afterwards. Let's see what time it is. Okay, do like 2 more sets of people. I could stay for just a couple more minutes.
Almost always.
Miss Ikhlas?
Okay, so Teresa, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Hello.
And Jerry, I thought I unmuted Jerry here.
Jerry and
Jerry.
Miss Ikhlas are
Okay,
raising
yeah.
hand.
Ah, there you are. Okay.
Teresa, okay.
From August or from the beginning?
Teresa, are you going to do the British or the American side?
British, I try.
British, and Jerry is going to do the American?
Yeah.
Okay, please start from this row.
Okay. August, also, Australia, almost, always.
Okay.
Okay,
I just have to say
American
that
or
I
British?
think
Teresa was doing British, and now Jerry will do American.
Okay, so please say it like August.
August,
Also,
also,
Australia.
Australia,
Almost,
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 always.
always.
This is British accent. How do you say them in American, Jerry?
yeah, I was saying I think I'm kind of a mix between the two. But anyway. August, almost, Australia, also, and always.
What do you think, Kayla?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mix. Like it wasn't necessarily as strong as an American accent. I can hear Teresa says she thinks she's a mix sometimes too. I can feel that because Teresa learned British pronunciation, but then she did American accent training with me too. So I would say August, also, Australia, almost, always.
Okay, what about the next one? The next row?
Little, meeting, bottle, liberty, later.
Yes, but don't say little, it's little, little.
Little,
Yeah, make it shorter, little.
little,
Yes, exactly.
little.
Okay. Little, meeting, bottle, liberty, later.
Liberty one more time.
Oh, liberty.
I mean, I said it, but yeah, I feel like that one's always trickier because it's like as soon as there's oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a word pair that's similar with the Spanish equivalent, it's easier to make it like españolizarlo a little bit. So libertad. So we want to pronounce that T a bit more. Great.
Yeah,
Great.
liberty.
Okay, let's do the third row.
Car, shark, hard, learn, parking, daughter.
Okay, you pronounced the R at the end. Don't pronounce it in the British accent.
Car.
Ah.
Car.
Yes. Again.
Shark.
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 Hard.
Hard.
Learn.
Learn.
Parking.
Parking.
Parking. Daughter.
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 Very good. What about you, Jerry?
Car, shark, hard, learn, parking, daughter.
Excellent.
Daughter. Plus.
Daughter. Right, Kayla?
Daughter.
Daughter.
Yes. And the last row is concerned with the O sound. I want to hear it from you, Miss Ikhlas, or I'm not sure about the name.
Okay. Go, no, borrow, overflow.
Go. Again, go.
Go, no, borrow, overflow.
Borrow.
Borrow.
Yeah, borrow and?
Overflow.
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 Yes, over, without the R, I'm sorry.
Overflow.
Overflow.
Yeah.
Overflow.
Okay.
Thank you. Excellent. Jerry?
Go, no, borrow, overflow.
This is more British, I think.
You
Really?
did put a little bit of a British twang
I'm a
on
mod. I don't know.
it.
Yeah, it's because when I learned English, it was in New York, but then I started to teach British English, and then
So
I
you got a
just
little
like
mixture there.
I'm a mix.
Yeah. So especially on borrow and overflow, I heard it. So you could make it a bit stronger, like borrow,
Borrow,
overflow.
overflow. Okay,
Good.
thank you. This
Great.
was very fun.
Great.
You guys, we've just finished. Do you have any questions, or do you want to add anything?
I have one. Is there a difference in between the word police and policeman?
Police.
Between the two?
Policeman.
Policeman.
Yeah, they are the same. Police and policeman.
For
And then I
both,
would
or
say
you don't make the word man like man isolatedly. When it comes alone, you say it man. But inside the word policeman, you have to make it a short word or a short syllable. So it is policeman. Policeman.
we turn it into a schwa sound there. I've talked about the schwa a few times here in the group.
Exactly.
So policeman.
Exactly.
Okay.
Most welcome. Lily, do you want to add anything?
Great. No, I just think this was a really great lesson with a lot of I don't know, really a really great comparison for a lot of people. I think people really enjoyed it because of this difference between the British and American pronunciation. So I want to thank Lobna for her time and being willing to sort of show us these differences and the British pronunciation side of things, because for me, that's not as easy to teach because I don't master it the way she does. So thank you to Lobna. Put all your appreciation for her in the chat, you guys. She was really excited to help out with this class. Let us know how you liked it. And I would love to do more classes like this in the future, get more participation from you guys. And feel free to ask me more questions in the future about the differences with British and American accent, and I'll imitate the British accent the best that I can. I see a lot of thank yous here to you in the chat. People loved the lesson, said it was really great.
You're most welcome, everyone, and I'm really happy to have all of you here and to give you such an interesting lesson for me, because I'm really interested in phonetics and phonology. So if you have any question, please don't hesitate to contact me or contact Kayla on English Without Borders, and my own page. I will leave you the link here in the chat box if you would like to contact me.
I know Jolly had a last minute question. I can stay 1 minute more to answer a quick question, and then I have something else I have to do. So Lobna, if you have to go, feel free to go, but I'll let Jolly ask her question quickly.
When is another class will start, or we're going to
So the schedule for our classes? Yeah, our classes are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same time. So an hour before now, whatever your local time is at your house, 1 hour before now is when the class starts. Okay, so yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. And you can always watch the replays of our classes in the unit section. Huda wants to hear the pronunciation of February again. I say February. And honestly, I think that technically, even in American pronunciation, we're supposed to put the R in there a little bit, like February. But most people don't say that. We just say February. Because otherwise it feels weird. I don't know. Okay, yeah, guys, check out Lobna's Facebook page, especially if you are a native Arabic speaker, because she's been through those same challenges in her English language learning journey in the past, and she's overcome them, so she can help you a lot. Mr. Rabbi has one more question, so I just have one more minute, and then I have to get going because I have another session.
Okay, thank you so much. I would like to ask you about idioms. So nowadays, if you go through English pages, I mean, learning English, they all talk about idioms and slangs all the time. So what do you think? As an American native speaker, do you think that using idioms and slangs all the time is good, or it doesn't work?
That's a good question. We did a class on idioms for the past 2 Mondays, I think we did classes on idioms. So you can check those out in our replays. But the thing with idioms and with slang speech is I think it's important to understand the most common ones so that when people use them in everyday speech, you don't feel lost, so that you know what they're talking about.
Okay.
But using idioms yourself or slang yourself is never necessary unless you want to use it. So you don't need to force it and try to sound like someone you're not. Like for me, for example, in English, I don't use slang very much unless I'm being really informal with friends and family.
That's the point I wanted to hear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
So it really depends. That was a good question. And for example, you might find that you have a different personality in English than you do in Polish or Indonesian or Spanish. I use slang, I think, much more in everyday Spanish than I do in everyday English with my boyfriend, actually. So it's kind of weird. And I use curse words a lot more in Spanish than I do in English, because people in Spain like use curse words a lot in everyday. It's like normal, like they'll say things all the time like it's nothing. Like even kids will say stuff. I'm like, what? You can't say that. And they're like, watch me. So it's sort of a different culture. So thank you once more to Lobna. We really appreciate having you here and giving your time to show us a bit of your expertise. We hope to have you back in the future to give more classes like this. And I'll see you guys all in the next lesson on Friday.
Thank you so much, Kayla. See you next time.
Thanks. Bye, everyone. See ya.
Bye-bye.